Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 281 of Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Summer Rain.
My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is Jordan Willis.
And wow, it's the three of us.
We're back.
We did it. We are here to talk about Mario and Luigi Brothership, the latest game in the Mario and Luigi series that is not dead, very much alive. It came out this past Thursday because that's a thing now, the new norm, if you will. We're going to talk all about it, in spite of the spicy IGN review. But before we get into that, we're going to also break down the news from the past couple of weeks. Lots of Nintendo news, just so much of it. Just that's what happens when we take a little bit of a break. Like the music app that Nintendo released. We also got a crumb of information confirming more details on the Switch successor. But before that, how has everyone been? It's been a while.
I'm going to open this up by saying it's been a while.
Okay, yes.
That's true. But also I think we're going to all have one big event that's happened that we might want to discuss. And that is the US presidential election / general election for, other important federal and local things. And I know, this is a podcast about video games, but we've always been open to talking about our real lives in the real world and never been shy of it, at least, being open about our politics and stuff. And this has been a tough week with the results of that for all of us. And honestly, one of the places that's been actually a good place for me is the Super Switch Headz Discord, the Switch Headz Discord. Because I think maybe because we are open about this, we attract a certain audience, and maybe not everybody agrees, but at least we're all civil, and then there's been good, camaraderie and discussion about it.
I think something that I'll say the Super Switch Headz is like a entity, right, that we all kind of belong to. I've been really good at cultivating a space. For we're just continuing to find our people, and something that is really important now more than ever is just continuing to find your people. And something that I'm really proud of with this group of folks is that we have created this space, and we're going to continue to be that space. That's not going to change. We're going to continue to cultivate a place where people can be who they are in spite of potential changes that are, may try to actively fight against who you are. We're going to always be that place. And that's something that I'm really proud of with this group of folks. So, yeah.
The Discord has been a really good space for just like reasonable discourse. Like, I feel like, a lot of places online you go, it's really, just toxic. And I feel like the internet is not designed to be toxic, but as certain things have been introduced into the internet has made it a toxic space. So I don't know. I just was like reading through the specifically politics channel. I think it was David who decided to split off the politics channel, which I think was like honestly a really good call, like a really forward thinking call, because he saw this, not this specific event happening, but something like, oh, this is going to be talked about more and more. This needs to just be its own like section, but yeah, just knowing that like everyone is like mostly on the same page of like wanting progress in spite of people who don't want progress. And I don't know, the most I can really say, like, without getting too specific, is just like the world has never moved forward by staying exactly the same. So like people who try to fight progress one way or the other will eventually lose, but it sucks to have to live through the fucking like fight against that. It's like we are living in an ever-changing world always. So like you either go with the flow or you're a fucking stick and you get run over. Like, I don't know how else to put that, So I don't know. It's just been a really weird week in general, and just trying to process that in any way. Still processing it because I also had a lot of other things going on, which I'll talk about in a bit. Yeah, I don't know. That's it for my little side note.
Yeah, it's almost funny. It's really good to be here with y'all and talking about this, but I do think, today is I'm just gonna put this out there too. This is a random note, but we're recording this on a Saturday for various reasons. But it's been 5 days, 4 days or whatever since it happened, and I've just been thinking and talking about it a lot. And that's not gonna stop, but I'm also kind of tired of thinking and talking about it too. Not that changes anything, because I still continue to think and talk about it, but it's like, I don't know what else there is to say. Like, I don't know. It's not cool. What I mean, we're talking about buying a new car. This is just like a random example, right? And this is not even the most important thing. Like the things that scare me the most are not this, but just like,
and it's like impact other parts. Yeah.
We have a car that has a problem that's not fixable yet ever. So we're like, well, shit. The interest rates are going down right now, but all this tariff talk is causing prices to start rising. Do we need to buy this car now before we're ready to? But we need, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. And it's just wild, all the stuff that's already kind of changing because of this.
We are gamers. We're anticipating a big new console release next year, and they're already talking about electronics going up 60%. Like, I'm right. Like, that's the most relevant thing, right? Yeah. To this very specific, okay. Like, so yeah.
There's so much more we can talk about, but this isn't the point of our podcast. I think, we're not afraid of talking about it, and we'll talk about real life things as they happen. But is there anything going on? And it's honestly, this has overshadowed anything that I can think of in the last 3 weeks to talk about, except one thing, which happened today. And that is Jordan's photography show, which I'm going to say for Jordan.
Thank you.
Which is, I got to go tonight to the opening. Jordan's got some our photography work up at a coffee shop. So if you're in the Austin area, you should definitely check it out. Can we say where it is, Jordan?
I'm comfortable. I can take over. So it's hanging at the Epoch Village. For a long time, I worked at the Alamo Drafthouse Village right there. And so whenever that place opened, I would go probably at least like 3 times a week at minimum, sometimes more. And it was always like a really nice, like, what do they call it? Like a third space for me, where it's just like, it's not my house, not my work. And sitting at that bar top at that location, I got to know a lot of people like I've played music with, I've made music videos for, like, just creative, interesting people to talk to. And so, this year in particular, I've decided to like really take my photography a lot more serious, because I know I'm good and I know I've been good for a long time, but it's always been a struggle for me to like convince myself to take it seriously. So I started like applying to different kind of like contests and things around the country and stuff like that. And I was just like really disheartened getting like rejection after rejection. And then like I was in Epoch one day talking with my friend Ben, who I played music with before. And I was like, hey man, who does the hanging for like Epoch? Like, who do I need to talk to? And he goes, hey, can you tell Jordan what's available? And then like fucking like within 5 minutes, they're like, hey, can you hang in November? And I was like, yeah, sure. And it was just like happened so instantly. I was like, all this other ways I was trying to make it happen was like not the way. I just needed to like tap into the community and the people that I built, and having it at this space that I went to a lot was like really cool for me to be able to do. So yeah, I've just been working really hard on that for a while. I feel like I've talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but yeah, I was like framing up pieces, taking pieces, and it's all work. It's all kaleidoscope based photography that I've been doing for the past, I'd say I started in like the end of April, and these photos go through about the end of August. So I picked 20 pieces. I obviously have so much more, but I was like, I need to pick a nice selection that everyone can go from. And I made a little zine, and I'm working on like setting up an Etsy shop and stuff like that too. But yeah, it was really cool. My whole family came out. Like a lot of my family came out, my direct family. And then Patrick came out. That was awesome. And then also like people I worked with, some people that work at Epoch, some like, and just like general friends. Valerie's family came out too. Like, it was just really cool. It was a good group of people, and it like made me feel very loved. And that was very nice. especially because it's like I had a little bit of guilt feeling like, oh, I'm having this art opening and the world is seemingly on fire. Why do I get to have this like small hope part of joy? But it's like, no, it's like, this is like what we need, you know, like
Yes.
the community
Mhm.
space for each other and to like hold each other up, because like, it's like, we are all we have. So like, that's what I kind of like walked away the night feeling like very
Yes.
comforted by the community that I've built over the years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the things that I have been doing the last few weeks or week, 5 days, whatever it is, that have been really the most meaningful have been things like this, and going to your event and seeing people. Or I mean, not that I know your family and stuff that well, but like
you do
just-
now.
I do now, and like, you know, if it feels good. And like my wife put on a thing where we got together with people and sang a bunch of protest songs, and she's getting into drumming, and we did like a community drum circle one of the last few nights, and just like being with people
Mhm.
that are also dealing with this and
Mhm.
having something artistic around it too is
Mhm.
yeah.
Oh
It's been
yeah.
helpful.
This is the time to definitely lean more into your art now. Don't shy away from it. This is the time. This is the time to make art and put it out there. And also, yeah, acts of joy are acts of resistance. 100%. Yeah. I was grappling with the same kinds of things. I took 2 days off of work. Not afraid to say it. And I went and saw the Blue Shift Big Band on Thursday night, because I was like, yeah, I still want to do that. I still want to go do that for sure. The VGM scene in Chicago was like growing, and the concert was phenomenal. They had some new arrangements that I was just blown away by. Like, nobody is doing what they're doing. I'm so impressed. But I was chatting with some of the band leaders after the concert, and I was like, what do we have to do to get a VGM like jam session going on here? Like, we literally have the guy in our city and he was sitting there like while I was saying this. I was like, we have the guy who runs vgleadsheets.com and does all of the transcriptions for it. Like, why aren't we like what? And they were like, well, nobody wants to run it. They're like, we all want to do it, but nobody wants to run it. And I'm over here like, fine. If it means that it's the only way that it can happen, then I guess. So, right. I'm like, it needs to happen. We need to be having like these spaces for our hyper fixations that bring us joy. So I need to try to find like other normal jam sessions in town to like attend for a while too. Just to get like a little bit, like I have a sense of it going to it at conventions, but I feel like I should probably have like the quote unquote normal experience before I like try to do it myself.
Yeah.
Just that and a lot of Pokemon TCGP.
Yeah, dude. Oh man, I'm also working again, and that's been very weird because like I haven't really worked consistently since the end of Walker at the end of like April, and now it's like I'm getting offered these commercials, and yeah.
The second I'm not in a meeting, I'm like opening my phone and I'm pulling up the app and I'm checking to see if I have like a Wonder Pick ready and
addiction, baby.
Mm-hmm. I look at the clock. I'm like, do I have enough time to do an online match?
Well, all right. I guess we'll move along if y'all are ready then. To some quick shout outs. So we've got 3 episodes that we want to mention just real quickly. I got 1 or 2 comments from each. We did an episode on Mario Party Jamboree. On YouTube, we heard from Danya Sharif, who said, honestly, I disagree. And that's in regards to the title, I think, of our episode, which was like, it's the best Mario Party game. It can't be the best without a 2v2 team mode. And that is definitely missing. So we hear you. We had an episode about UFO 50 that came out. And over on YouTube, we heard from Existon File, who said, game of the year for anyone born in the 80s for sure. It took me back to being a kid, truly magical. And also a couple quick a shout out or 2 over on our Discord. Hans talked about having just bought the game and started playing, and particularly liking Party House. And also Swampy Southpaw joined in on that conversation. And then we did an episode on Tetris. And that came out day after the election, which anyway, behind the scenes was a bit of a mess for me because I was not in a good mental place with that coming out. foresight. We should next time remember that, I guess. But anyway, Koala Carry on YouTube said, thank you for this bright spot in an otherwise very dark day. Really needed this fun distraction. And then also over on the Discord, we heard from AV, Cena, Cool Uncle Vince, all talking about Virtual Boy ownership, because that was a part of the discussion there about the Tetris games on Virtual Boy. And Jordan, you got to show off you still own your Virtual Boy.
I will mention one time too, like I overheard tonight, unprompted, they were talking about, my grandma was there who bought us the Virtual Boys, and she was talking about buying the Virtual Boys. And I was like, yo, I was literally just talking about this on our Discord. And she's like, what's a Discord? I'm like, okay, never mind. No, it doesn't matter. I was just telling people that I still have my Virtual Boy. Here's the photo. And I got to show my grandma the photo of me holding up the Virtual Boy that I put in the Discord. Yeah. Anyway, just good side note.
Very nice. Well, yeah, if you two want to be shouted out on the next episode, then leave a comment on the YouTube or send us a message or a note or join the Discord and comment and discuss anything we talk about on this episode. We'd love to hear from you. We also appreciate it if you would leave a review on Apple or tell a friend about the podcast or share the podcast online. We have a Patreon if you want to help financially support the podcast. And it also helps us if you hop over to the YouTube, if you're not already watching the video version, and hit like and subscribe. And then we're going to move on to the news and rumors section. And this is a meaty one because we've been off for a while and there has been a lot of big Nintendo stuff we want to talk about, as well as some other industry stuff. But we're going to focus on Nintendo because there's been so much. First of all, a little bit of a follow-up on the Nintendo Switch Online playtest program. So, this has been an interesting one. I think the last episode we recorded timely or whatever, like David was going to play it. Like it hadn't launched. And there was some discussion about some of the stuff that was out there that because people could download it, but you couldn't play it yet. Well, David's not here, so he's not breaking any rules or anything. I have independently read all of this. The place that I've found it's been hard to kind of to find this information because Nintendo's been striking it if people post about it publicly, and the news sites understandably aren't talking about it. The best place I've found is a Reset Era thread where people have been talking about their experience and sharing and communicating on how to play the game and stuff, because it sounds like it's not super intuitive. But this game, for those that didn't follow along, is sort of like an MMO Minecraft game where there's a building aspect and it's blocky, and you have these sort of caveman-like characters that have these little tails and you can move around by whipping the tail like Spider-Man. It sounds wild. And there's also, you create beacons and you kind of develop an area. And there's a hub where you can go and meet other people and stuff too, called like the dev area. It's wild. And there's some cool videos and stuff that people have shared on this Reset Era thread. We can't really share any of that here, but I don't know. Is there anything I missed from what y'all's reading or understanding about this? It's over now. The playtest is over. Did y'all hear anything or think anything interesting about this?
I saw a little bit of it. It looked interesting. I don't know how much of this I would actually play, to be completely honest. Like, I tried Terraria, I tried Minecraft, I tried Valheim, I've tried Project Zomboid, I've tried so many of these types of games, like vaguely like it, and it's like not generally my style. It did look interesting, the MMO aspects of it. That is more intriguing. It's like more natural, like you can build with each other, but I don't know. It just looks super weird. It's really weird that they didn't make any official announcement about this game. It's like, obviously everyone on the internet's talking about it. Just talk about it. Like, you know what I mean? We're all going to do it anyway. It's kind of like how when Deadlock came out, it's like, we're all talking about it. And Valve was like, okay, and didn't do anything. It's like almost like, oh yeah, we want you to talk about it, but we can't say that.
Yeah.
But it's like, it felt like Nintendo was trying to do the same thing, but not at all. It's like, dude,
because they're also striking things.
Yeah.
And from reading this thread, it sounds like there's a lot of confusion because I don't think it was a very intuitive game. Like a lot of people would be like, I don't know what to do now. And people would be like, oh, you're supposed to do this. And people would be like, oh, now what do I do? You know, and like, it's like, oh, you do this. So weird. It's weird, but it looks, I'm like, I like the big swing of it.
Yes.
Whether it hits or misses. And I like that they're developing stuff in theory, we can assume, for just NSO that's different, right?
Yeah.
That
Yes.
isn't just another 99 game or just, I don't even know. Like it, we'll see. Also, a lot of speculation that this will be a Switch successor, Switch 2, whatever we want to call it, thing. Because of, I read that they had some update and people were analyzing the update and it had something to do with mesh renderers that the Switch doesn't have, but probably the next console will have or something.
Interesting.
Anyway, that's a lot about that. Unless y'all have anything else, we can move along to another Nintendo Switch Online thing that happened recently, and that was the launch of the Nintendo Music app for smartphones, a Spotify-like application that you have to be an NSO subscriber for. But this is something we actually kind of talked about in our NSO episode of maybe Nintendo doing. I think maybe it was David. I don't know who proposed it, but that was a good call because it happened. Here it is. I know there was speculation about this too a long time ago when Nintendo started getting real aggressive about striking songs on YouTube and stuff, which was with pretty recently, right?
Nintendo listens to Super Switch Headz confirmed. That's all I have to say.
Have y'all used your Nintendo Music app much?
I downloaded it as soon as it came out, and I've been using it. I feel like it's got potential. It's weird that they haven't released a full, I guess a more full, like, is it gonna be like NSO where they just continue to drip soundtracks? Is it a server issue? You'd think that they maybe would have had more of it lined up to go. With the way that they strike down online other people's, their own music. But I will also say that because we are starting to see some soundtracks officially being hosted on this platform, that the VGM community is extremely excited, because that means that there are soundtracks that previously weren't licensable, like by cover artists. Now that this basically puts them in that space where you actually can make covers that you can actually produce and license. So it's exciting for that reason. I'm seeing a lot of that conversation going on too.
Yeah, it definitely was super bare bones, right? Like I downloaded it after the announcement. I don't think I even watched the announcement and realized that it wasn't full when it first launched. I watched it afterwards and saw that they're like, more things will be added
over time.
right. But so I looked at it and I like did a search for every major, franchise, Mario, Metroid, F-Zero, Donkey Kong, whatever. And there's like 1 or 2 games for every franchise, even Mario.
Yeah.
Right. Like
weird.
And it's weird because it's like, I've actually used it quite a bit, but I'm also like, why is it a really small percentage of games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't remember the day this launched. Y'all could maybe tell me, but they have added 2 games since then. I think they've added Super Mario Wonder, and Donkey Kong Country 2. Like
Wonder should have been a day one, right? Like
everything about which games are on there and aren't is a little bit of a head scratch.
I know. Like for me, I'm struggling with, right? The first thing I noticed, because the first thing I did when I opened this app was searched for Fire Emblem. And then for the only Fire Emblem game to be on there is Blazing Blade, the original one released in the States on the Game Boy Advance. Like, hello. And don't get me wrong, the songs are good, but is it the best one in the franchise? No.
Well, also, like, you'd think it would just be the more recent. I can see maybe like an argument for if we're only going to start small, like an old one and then the ones that's on the Switch. Like those are the obvious ones to me, and it's not the case for a lot of these games.
Is it like their way of trying to get you to listen to certain soundtracks?
I think it was somebody else that said this, but music is not like drip feeding video games. Like that sucks for lots of reasons, but I can see the reasoning behind it, that like I can't sit here and beat 10 video games in a week. So drip feeding them, I mean, I could, but right, like I don't. Like, so drip feeding them kind of makes sense because they're bigger commitments and all that. But like a song, especially a song I like, I will listen to a song I like every day or every few days or whatever. So like, I'm not gonna stop using it because you're not adding to it. Like if it's full, like.
Yeah. One thing I'll say is all of the photo channel music being on here from the Wii. Goated. I do appreciate that literally all of the original Wii like channel music is on here, and that's what I've been playing. I've muted all of the sounds in Pokemon TCGP, and I just play that playlist. I go to the Wii music and I play that while I play instead.
Damn, that sounds like the way to play. I think I'm going to do that from now
Yeah,
on.
especially like the photo channel. And I was actually really into the Everybody Votes channel. So like that
Mhm.
music is like exists in my
Yes.
up there, you know, and it
Mm.
triggers that dopamine. So just combining those things. Come on, just put the Three Houses soundtrack on there. Come on. And then I'll stop being annoying.
All right.
Well, I'll never stop being annoying.
Okay, yeah.
Ooh, Patrick. Ooh.
I did almost make a joke.
Hmm.
Anyway, we'll move on to talk about a new game announcement. Nintendo, just out of the blue, randomly decided to announce Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition.
Let's go.
As we
Cool.
narrow in on almost every Wii U game being ported to the Switch here, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition is coming on March 20th. So I don't know, they give us about a 4.5-5 month heads up on this one on just a random internet drop, right? Like this, not part of any sort of presentation or anything. This game, I think, because it's the definitive edition, one of the things that's sort of being vaguely hinted at is that there is some sort of additional content, but they didn't really make it clear. They just kind of had a weird little, I don't know enough about this game to like speak intelligently about this, but they had like a little weird thing at the end of the trailer. And in the like, you know, copy that Nintendo put out, it's like, just who is this mysterious hooded figure on the beach? You'll have to stay tuned to learn more.
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little side story or extra post game or something.
That tracks. I mean, they did the same thing with the first one, right?
Yeah. It's sounding like, it might be a hefty, I mean, relatively speaking to the amount of content in any Xenoblade Chronicles game, a hefty chunk of content. It was fun. When this announcement came out, you know, I immediately messaged my sister about it because she loved this game. And I was like, hey, you'll never believe. And she goes, man, I don't know that I could see myself playing through that whole thing again. No. And then sent a screenshot of the snippet that was like, this much more stuff. And she was like, oh, fuck, here we go again. Okay, fine. Yeah, every Xenoblade Chronicles game on the Switch now with this one.
That's right. We talked about a while back about Monolith Soft kind of talking about their engine and stuff. So who knows? Like, what are they doing over there? What do they have in the water in that place? Like, they're cranking this stuff out.
They are cooking.
So I don't know. I guess we'll talk about it more in a little bit because I feel like it ties into sort of the financial stuff. But a couple other Nintendo news before we get there. A while back we talked about Ryujinx, which is the Switch emulator that isn't Yuzu, that was kind of thought to be dead because there was some sort of vague, the person who was in charge contacted by Nintendo, you know, not an official DMCA, not an official like lawsuit or anything, but just a sort of like, I'm not going to work on this anymore. Whether it was a threat or a carrot or a stick, we don't know. But it seems like other people are trying to take up the mantle and are continuing to work on it, which isn't surprising. But unlike Yuzu, where everything was taken down, this still was kind of up and exists. And so other people have been able to continue working on it. We'll see what that means, perhaps. But just kind of wanted to mention that because that is an interesting development there. The other thing that I saw recently that's kind of wild is a Nintendo patent that people have discovered. And of course, patents could be anything, right? Could just be stuff they're messing around with and they don't intend to do. But we have seen some stuff recently that I feel like was the Alarmo patent, like, or related to the Alarmo. And this time around, it looks like it's a Switch VR headset that looks kind of like the Labo headset, but not cardboard. You still have to hold it up to your face, though it looks maybe a little bit better because the way the Labo one worked was not super great. but it is a patent where basically somebody's jamming their head up against a thing with the switch attached to it, and having to hold it there in place. I don't know, gang. Is this how you want Nintendo to do VR? Is this
the Virtual Boy lives on? Virtual Boy for NSO confirmed. Let's go. No, this is dumb. This thing looks so dumb. Like, I don't know. I went kind of what we talked about VR a little bit at the opening. It was just like I've been talking to my brother about this because he got the Quest, and I was like, yeah, that's like the closest to what it needs to be for that technology to like exist and work. It still needs a little bit of work as far as like the screen resolution and the screen hertz rates, but it's like that's close because, you know, Apple did their $6,000 whatever bullshit, and you still had to put a battery in your pocket, so you had a string that went to a battery in your pocket. I was like, that's dumb. Like, no one wants that in VR. They want a completely wireless system with 2 controllers that you hold in your hand, and you're not tethered. That's what people want. That's what's going to make VR work. But like this, I don't know, man. It's like the Virtual Boy all over again. Labo VR 2, whatever. But will I get one? Fuck, I'll probably get one.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I mean, I guess. Do you think it's possible that it literally is just in like gonna be like you can buy it if you have NSO in the same way that we can buy the N64 controller to use for N64 NSO game application?
Yes.
Here's Virtual Boy controller you get to buy if you have NSO to use just for freaking Virtual Boy game releases. How many games were even on the Virtual Boy?
I hadn't thought about that, but that could be true.
That's kind of what it feels like to me, and that feels insane. I think it's like 14. I think there's like 19 total. I can't remember exactly. Cool Uncle Vince will probably pop in and let us know.
They released an alarm clock, you guys, for $100 that you have to be an NSO subscriber for.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would believe that this is just for Virtual Boy games, and you can only buy it if you have NSO.
Yeah, there are 14 games that were released in the US and 22 officially, and then there's like 19 in Japan.
Okay, so we won't get the 5 that like, even though we should. We won't get those 5. Maybe we'll get one of them. There are some Japanese only titles we've gotten, but they never translated them. So like, hello.
Yes.
And then, okay, there will be one non-Virtual Boy game, and it'll be whatever that fucking playtest was. That's the other game that we'll get to do in VR. But nothing else. That's my prediction.
Well, we'll see if this turns out to be anything or it was just a patent. But yeah, that's not a bad theory. We'll see.
I mean, it's a bad theory, but
it's
like
a bad theory, but it's not a surprise.
It's not far off, maybe.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to move on to talking about the Pokemon the Card Game Pocket, the mobile game that just launched within the last couple of weeks.
Let's go.
This has been surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, but successful. At least it seems anecdotally with everybody in our Discord, and just I'm kind of enjoying it.
Yay! You heard it here. Notorious Pokemon hater Patch. No, it's just a good game.
What it also kind of sparked, which was kind of funny, is my son has some Pokemon cards. He doesn't have that many, but we literally played my ever first real game of card-based Pokemon. After, we didn't play it right because we played it with sort of the rules from this.
Sure.
It didn't quite 100% work, but was like, it gave us some guidelines, and we played and we messed around and looked at his cards and like played a couple times in real life too. So I don't know if that was their intention, but it's working if it was. I
mean, within an hour of it, I was like, man, I just want to buy real cards again. But then I remember all the times that I've like hurt myself buying real cards. So I think, so then I had like that full circle, and then I was like, okay, this actually does satisfy the not having real cards, I think. And we've only got one expansion right now. Like, can't wait for more.
Yeah, I was on a roller coaster with this game. I kind of like hated it. Then I kind of was like okay with it, and now I kind of like it. But I'm the same boat. I'm just like waiting for more expansions, mostly because like the limited card set only provides like a limited amount of decks that are viable that people can play, and I'm really excited to see this game expand, and I hope it maintains popularity enough to expand. I mean, obviously it's Pokemon. We'll see.
Even I'll say that as somebody who has like a moderate level of like experience with mobile games, I do enjoy the style that they're approaching events with so far, right? We like first they dripped the Wonder Pick event, and then we've got the solo battle event, and then there's also versus other randoms, and like the fact that there are different kinds of events going on like that. I'm really into that.
Well, maybe we'll talk more about this in the games we're playing. I don't know.
I will. Yeah. That's what I was
okay.
like, just save it.
So we'll move
going.
on. We'll move on to a little bit of an update of sorts about the Nintendo Pokemon Company versus Palworld lawsuit, or rather Pocket Pair, the company that makes Palworld. So it seems that Pocket Pair has given a little bit of info on the facts of this lawsuit and exactly what Nintendo is alleging and sort of seeking. And I don't pretend to know or understand all of this. This is sort of new information that just came out, and so I'm kind of parsing through it. But in particular, they have 3 patents, and these are Japanese patents that they are claiming that Palworld is infringing on, and they primarily are related to like catching creatures and riding mechanics, apparently. Which obviously, like, we could have a whole conversation about how you shouldn't be able to patent gameplay stuff, and I think that's. But apparently that is the sort of crux of their lawsuit. Also of note, it's been explained that they are seeking an injunction for them to stop selling the game. I don't know if that would apply internationally or just to Japan or what, as part of this, and that they are also not it's not like a ton of money.
Yeah.
They're seeking, I guess it's apparently about 5 million yen, which is about 33,000 US dollars. I mean, that's a lot of money to me, but it's not like a lot of money in the grand scheme of things of all this. But that doesn't mean that it wouldn't cost them a ton of money to fight this. So I don't know what this all means. If they're just trying to get them to shut this game down and just cut their wins or whatever you want to call it, like, what do y'all think? And did I miss any details? Because this is kind of new information that's just been breaking over the last day or so.
It feels like a mess, I guess. It's like it feels a little sloppy. I mean, I guess that's my like, I'm not a lawyer opinion, seeing the dollar amount and how everybody's reacting to that, right? So now it's just bringing even more like, haha, Nintendo, what the hell are you doing? Attention to them. At least that's like the vibe I'm getting from all of this, right? I'm with you, Patrick. I don't think that specific game mechanics should be patented. I don't think storytelling styles should be patented. I think it's what you do with that, and that's what's like annoying to me too. Is okay, if you don't like this, then just like continue to do it the way that you do it best, right? Because as somebody who's even been kind of feeling lukewarm on Pokemon for the past couple of years, nothing about Palworld got me interested in it. You know, none of the buzz really captured me, like the creatures themselves. And that's what a lot of these like Pokemon, like other monster capture like games, I think struggle with is their creature design. Like if you don't nail that, then you're really going to struggle. And it's not even that they're like quote unquote knockoffs to me. I just think, I don't know, none of them interest me. So it's annoying for that reason too. It's like, just keep doing what you do instead of attacking them, because I'm gonna still be your fan if you just do what I want you, like do what you're good at.
I'm not feeling terribly optimistic about anything these days.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
But if we want to be optimistic about this, I don't know that Pocket Pair is up to the task or up to the challenge, but this could be a moment to challenge the idea of gameplay patents, right? To be like,
Yeah.
this is absurd. Like, you can't patent something like this. Again, I don't know that they have the money, resources, desire, time, all that to do that. But this could, I mean, something like this to a big enough company could open the door to shut this concept down. And there's a little bit of optimism for you if we're gonna have a tiny bit somewhere in here. I don't know that I feel like that's gonna go this way at all, but we can hope. So we're gonna move on to talking about the Nintendo Switch successor, the Switch 2, the Super Switch, and Nintendo's sort of updated financials and their big quarterly meeting, because these things are tied together in that just in advance of their meeting, president of Nintendo, Furukawa, put out a tweet, as they do now, with these sort of info drops about the Switch successor, and they said that essentially the gist of it is that it's gonna be backwards compatible. I love how these tweets all start now.
Yes,
It's like, this is Furukawa.
To know that it's not like a regularly scheduled posting, which is so funny too.
But I guess they have basically said in this tweet that software, that's playable on the Nintendo Switch is also playable on the successor to the Nintendo Switch. Backwards compatibility. We've all been hoping for it. We got our confirmation. Before we move on to the whole rest of the quarterly report and all that, let's break this part down a little bit. My initial thought was they're telling us this because they're not going to announce the Switch 2 anytime soon. And they want people to know that it's going to be backwards compatible in advance of the holidays.
Yes.
And they are going to make that announcement, and they know their investors are going to be like, what? So they wanted to do it just in front of the investor meeting. Like, it was a super thought out thing, right? Like, we want people to know this before the holidays, but we don't want our investors to line up a ton of questions about it. So we want to do this right before the meeting. That's my conspiracy theory.
I don't think that's conspiracy. I think that feels just about right.
Yeah.
Also, though, it's like, I mean, we already kind of had hopefully guessed this. It kind of all signs are pointing to this. So I feel like it's already known. But yeah, also it's like investors, maybe, I don't know what questions they would have asked to have made this difficult, but it's like, if anything, this is a good thing because it means that the software will continue to sell throughout the year and then the investor should be happy anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think to me, this reads as Switch 2 is not coming this year. We need to give people a reason to continue to buy Switch software through the end of the year, especially in the holiday season. This to me feels like a play for just trying to get holiday sales pushed up at the end of the year. So yeah we'll see. I'm still in the camp of Switch 2 Q1 2025, which is like April, May.
All right. Any thoughts, Summer?
I'm over here like, okay, now you better give it to us this holiday so I can buy it before that 60% markup, you monsters. Like they're actually already over here and they're in warehouses and we're just waiting for the Game Awards announcement, and then I'm gonna go wait in line at Best Buy.
No, new conspiracy theory.
Oh my gosh.
The Super Switch was pushed back because Nintendo already knew the results of the
I knew you were going to say something like that. Oh my gosh.
And they wanted to profit off the results of the US election.
I don't think they profit off of it. Yeah, like
that's probably right. I don't know. It's a half-baked conspiracy.
No, but like that line of thinking, there's somewhere in there that I remembered seeing the tweet on that day. It was just like, okay, well they've got a little bit of hope to get me through.
Yeah, the timing was also right on the day of the election.
I was like, I get that the United States isn't the entire world, and that companies in Japan can do what they want, but I was also like, oh, come on.
So the next day they had the investor meeting, the quarterly report for this financial year. As they do, they update and give us the info on the hardware and software sales, at least somewhat in these presentations. We now know that the Switch has sold 146 million units. So the target here is both the DS and the PS2. And yeah, we're still like, what, 10 million
Dude,
away?
so close though. Like the
Yeah, it's pretty close.
PS2 is, I think, about 155 million, and the DS is like 154 million. 146 is really not that far away, because the next closest to the Switch is Game Boy and Game Boy Color at 118.69 million. Nice. So it's like that's 30 million difference right there alone from third to fourth. This is like closer to second and first. So it's possible, man. And with this tweet from Furukawa, maybe.
Yeah. And that's a good point, I think. And they did adjust some of their sales expectation numbers. And I was reading about this earlier, and I can't find it now. I can't remember what they project for the rest of the financial year, but I feel like it was enough to get them, maybe not to it, but close to it. I could be completely wrong too. I just don't remember. But so the other thing I guess we talk about a lot is the software. I don't think there was any major shifts in the top 10. I don't actually remember exactly. But you know, it looks like all the normal ones are still up in the top 10. Scarlet and Violet did not overtaken Sword and Shield. That's one of the things I kind of remember just talking about them. They are super close. Nintendo had some interesting slides in their presentation, one of which was that Pokemon software on the Switch has sold almost 100 million units total, like all the different Pokemon games. And I don't know that includes like Snap or things like that. I'm not really sure, but the spin-offs, still a staggering number of like units for a franchise. There were some other really interesting slides in there. I'm trying to pull them up right now while we're talking. There's just a lot of focus, not surprisingly, on Nintendo Switch Online and sort of on their broader approach here with theme parks and movies and the apps, that we're seeing with the Nintendo, with the music and stuff like that, in some of their presentation materials, to investors and things. There was a Q&A. I read through it. There was not a lot there. The one thing that I think I saw a lot of news outlets reporting on was that like one of the people asking a question called Miyamoto a genius, and Miyamoto was like, I'm not a genius. And I saw a lot of news outlets being like, Miyamoto self-declares not a genius.
Oh, jeez.
Or, just humble, or what, I don't know what, but and I don't know. I didn't see a whole lot else. There was just some interesting stuff that I think about, also about how many people play Switch in a year. Like they track that and had that in some of their materials, and how that number has gone up over the 8 years of the Switch being in existence. I feel like it's 120 something different users over the last year or something like that.
I just like seeing the total console sales, because I'm just like, is it going to get there? I think I feel like I've been saying this for forever, but I do think it will get there. And especially now that the Super Switch has been delayed, like one more holiday season, and then whenever the Super Switch releases, a price down of the base regular Switch unit, this will get to PS2 levels. Like 9 million is really not that much in the scheme of it. I fully believe this will be the best-selling console of all time.
Yeah. Oh, the one other thing that was in those materials that they spent like several slides on, I thought was really interesting at this stage in the game, was merging their handheld and home console systems. They had like 3 or 4 slides about that and why they're doing it and how it's a big change and stuff, even though it's like that changed 8 years ago or whatever, which makes you think that that's the way forward for them too, right? Like not that we had much doubt about that, but just another little piece confirming that, right? That they're like one system that does both. we can move on then to just a few other things that have been happening in the video game world that I thought we should mention. Try to go through this kind of quickly because I know we're going long here. But there's been, unfortunately, sales, layoffs, that kind of stuff happening, obviously, at this point. But a few that I wanted to mention. Private Division is like a small publisher that's owned by Take-Two. Take-Two had a big financial results meeting that a lot of things were discussed at, including that they are selling off Private Division. And it just sucks because the reasoning that they are doing that is that they're like, we make AAA, we make really big games, and that's what we want to do. We want to do that and make mobile games. And I think the future of video games is indie and small and diverse.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can still have big games, we can have small games, but I think people want variety of games. And I think Private Division was publishing interesting games, and it just like, it just sucks.
Yep.
Like, what the heck?
Seriously. If anything, I would say that the economic trend is that AAA games are actually what's bankrupting companies. And you have to have smaller projects that you're not dumping all of this money into in order to just be sustainable. My hope is that Metaphor ReFantazio wins some awards this year because it's a AA game. It is not a AAA game, and it still took them 7 years to make, but it's not a AAA budget, and it's proof because it's going to be up for awards, and those sales numbers are nuts. And just that statement alone gets my feathers ruffled, because that just shows that they're out of touch with literally what the state of the industry.
I mean, I feel like, the movie industry is in the same fucking boat. It's like, we're starting to see that these Marvel movies like can carry the entire studio forever. And it's like, who's really succeeding is like, oh, you look at like Blumhouse, and they're making these $1 to $5 million budget horror movies that go on to gross $30 to $40 million. And they just do that ad infinitum. And it's like, it's working for them. Same with like A24. It's like these smaller budget movies. Like, you need more smaller budget movies that have a larger profit margin, as opposed to making these like insanely huge ventures that if they fail, you're screwed and you have to lay off all your people. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's like, do companies not believe in like diversification of assets anymore? Like, what's going on, dude? Like, why are we all just consolidating into these like big tent poles? It's like, you can see that not working in other industries. Why do you think it's going to work in yours? Is just very baffling to me. And it's either like they're just like deaf, like tone deaf to like the state of how business works, which I'm like, then you shouldn't be running a company. Like, I don't know. The whole thing makes my head spin.
I'm just gonna jam through a few of these headlines here so that like we can see what's been going on in the industry. Kind of, if y'all want to jump in, please do. But Sega is selling off one of the studios they own, Amplitude, and they're selling it to people within Amplitude. So Amplitude is going to go independent.
So like employee owned almost.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure. I don't know. It's like some co-op or anything. It might just be whoever was at the head there. I don't know the details. And I also don't know a lot of details about this, but on Friday, the workers at Don't Nod, which is a video game studio, are going on strike because of, they're planning layoffs. I think it's in the UK, and so it's like redundancies. But they were set to go on strike on Friday, and just everybody that works there is going to not work until they can meet with like the CEO and like change what's happening. They put out a pretty nice statement about it, about like, we've warned our leadership about all these things and yada, yada. So I don't know how that went because we haven't really heard. Shark Mob, which is owned by Tencent, has had a bunch of layoffs. Also in the UK, I believe. They're making a big shooter game. And then Firewalk Studios, the PlayStation owned studio that made Concord, has officially been shut down by Sony. So I believe Firewalk was acquired by Sony before they had ever made a game. Well, sounds like maybe rerouted to work on this game, or who knows, and then now does not exist. So any chance of that game ever coming back, gone, right? Maybe that's the right decision. I don't know, but
There were no
Yeah.
right decisions made regarding any of that.
yeah,
No.
yeah, that's
The
fair.
whole
Nothing was right about this. Yeah,
Like,
I don't know.
you know, Sony's the one who probably pushed them to make this game, and then just completely jettisoned them out as soon as it took a nosedive. They're like, all right, well, sorry, bye. And it's just typical. I don't know.
Well, that concludes our roundup. There's probably other stuff we missed, but I think that gives a sense of some of the things that have been happening. And we're going to have one final news item here to kind of lead us into our main topic, and that is related to Mario and Luigi Brothership. So the reviews for this game came out, a little bit before the game came out. I don't know exactly how long. Just for context, it's currently sitting on Metacritic at 79, which is pretty decent, right? Like not terrible or not like fantastic, but a decent game.
Yeah.
But of note is that the IGN review made a lot of noise or made a lot of rounds. It was a very critical review where the reviewer gave it a score of 5, which is mediocre on the IGN scale.
Worse than
And now
Concord.
we can. what did Concord get? Worse than Concord? Is that true?
I thought so. I
have no clue. That's fine. Joe, it was a good joke, even if and it also could be true. I think it's a whole nother conversation about like reviews and scores. I don't really like scores and reviews, but this has made a lot of people upset and made a lot of people kind of question the other reviews and stuff. I don't know. What are y'all thinking?
IGN gave Concord a 7 just to establish that. I think what's important, it's the thing that is like slightly annoying, but like we have to remember with IGN and any other publishers similar to them is that an individual person is assigned to review a game. It's not like Metacritic where it's a bunch of different critics who all pull together to come up with a score. It is an individual who was told you have a week or two to, play as much of this game as you can and then churn out a review. Now, because like if anything, that's partially this review is getting me to reflect a little bit more on just the state of game journalism and reviews and what it's kind of reminding me is how unsustainable, just like we were talking about with AAA games, unsustainable reviews are in the video game space, that reviewers are told they have only this amount of time, and that's like not in the spirit of the way a lot of these games are meant to be played. And so you're telling someone to like force out this review as well, and it might have been like a bad day or bad week, but at the same time I'm one of those few people who actually does like appreciate hearing what reviewers have to say, but I'll usually also go and see like what else they've written, what else they typically write about.
I think the thing that they're the most critical of in their review that we can't speak to is they're really critical of the end of it, right? Like, and of the last chunk of the game being a slog. They're critical of a lot of things, if we're being fair, but like, it's kind of hard to know at this stage. I don't know. We're going to talk more about the game soon, but Jordan?
Yeah, I don't know. I read the review. It came off to me as like whiny, if I'm being completely honest. And like, as someone who loves the Mario and Luigi series, like half the shit they were saying, I was like, none of this is a problem. Like, talking about some of like the humor and the jokes just not landing for them. And I'm like, that's a personal opinion. I will get into more of that, but I personally am enjoying the humor in this game. So it's just like, I am reminded like, oh yeah, these are individual opinions, but like also the whole like thing felt a little bit clickbaity to me, because it's like, instead of giving a game a 7, more people are going to click on a review that gets a 5 out of 10 than if you had given it a 7 out of 10. But again, I don't know this person. I don't know this writer. I don't think that's their intention, but to me, that's what it comes off as. And I can understand why people are upset.
Yeah.
They might have, I mean, who knows? With the state of games journalism right now, maybe they were like, we need a bad review to get clicks. We got to aggregate the income. Let's go. Who's going to do it? Who's going to take the bullet?
We're talking about this review and none of the other reviews. That is what I will say.
No, that's whether it was intentional or not, it worked.
Yes.
To get us to talk about it and to not pay attention to most people who were giving it a 7 or 8, right?
Yep.
Like, so, well, why don't we take a break and then give our opinions of the game? We may not have played through it in its entirety, but we've all been playing a little bit of this game. And after this short break, we're going to be talking all about Mario and Luigi Brothership. We are back, and this week we're talking all about Mario and Luigi Brothership, the newest game in the Mario and Luigi franchise. And I think we've all played at least a little bit of this game, and we're going to be talking about it. How are we feeling about this game? Big picture so far, Jordan. You kind of already hinted at that, I think, in the news section. But why don't you take the lead as our resident Mario RPG expert?
Yeah, man, I love this series. I've really enjoyed every game. The only one I haven't played is Paper Jam, which is on my list. Again, sorry, I guess second shout out, Vince had told me, no, it's closer to Mario and Luigi than it is to Paper Mario. And I said, oh, okay, I will actually play it then, but I have not played it yet. Man, I'm really enjoying this game. Like, it does feel like a step forward, even though a few things feel like a step back, but like overall, it feels like, continuing in the spirit of the franchise, which I think is really important. I didn't know how it would continue with a new set of people making the game. But so far, I'm about like 5 or 6 hours in. I am really enjoying it so far. And I'm like, just puts a smile on my face. Like, I am really happy that we get to play another one of these games in my lifetime, for sure.
I'll agree. Like that, I do feel like the spirit is there. Like, it definitely feels like the next entry in what we thought was a series that was never coming back. And it looks great. Honestly, like visually, it's really pleasing. And I don't think I think that, like, we were already making, these comments when we first got the trailers for it, but seeing it on the Switch now, like, I feel like it feels like the correct move in as far as like visuals and art direction for the series to go. Like, it doesn't feel like such a stretch from what Mario and Luigi like came from. So, because I know that was like something that some people were like concerned about, whatever. No, in that way, I think it looks great. My personal only thing is that Luigi also uses A for commands instead of B.
Yes.
That muscle memory. Still now, 10 years later, I'm like, wait. But I'm enjoying it too.
Yeah, I definitely had a moment when I got into my first battle and I kept hitting B and I was like, fuck, like, why isn't it not working? And then I was like, oh, weird. And then like I messed up the animation like several times because instead of you have to press B, and I was like, wait, yeah. But
in a lot of ways, I think it's the right move. You know what I mean? But I also think it is making me make a lot of mistakes. like I miss with Luigi a third of the time still. I feel like maybe that might be it might not be that bad. I actually feel like I've gotten a lot better at it, but like especially the first few hours is like if it's Luigi's turn, especially with jumping more than the hammer, for some reason the hammer makes more sense. I don't know why, but jumping with B didn't work for me.
It could have been like an option in the settings. You know what I mean? Like,
doesn't like to give
classic controls or something, and just for the battles, like you click B, whatever. Anyway,
we should just mention, just in case you've never played these games, that you could generally control Mario with A and Luigi with B. In the old games, menuing, you would also do Luigi with B, right? Like,
for the battles, yeah.
For the battles. And so now it's all standard. Nintendo A progresses, B cancels, and it just kind of causes a little bit of wonkiness. But I also just want to go back to the big picture. I am also really enjoying this game. I have only played one Mario and Luigi game, and that's the one that's on NSO. I don't remember what the name of that one is now.
On the Game Boy
Superstar
Advance.
Saga.
Superstar Saga. And this feels very faithful in a lot of ways to that game, at least. And I trust Jordan and that it feels faithful to all of them. And I'm also just really having a good time with it. Like, I don't know, playing it with my son, and we're trading off. He doesn't love turn-based games, but he hasn't complained a lot. He hands me the controller a lot during the battles, but like, so I don't know. I think that in general, the battles in this game are really great. I think that's what I'm enjoying maybe the most. I think the art is really great. I really like the characters, like the little robot-y electric characters. I love it when they're sad. They make such good sad faces that are really endearing. Anytime something goes wrong, I'm just like, yes. Because they are all gonna be sad. And they have the cutest sad face. I don't know. I think my biggest criticisms of the game have already been shared by that IGN review and also by others. Like, there's been a lot of teaching in the game, and that's a lot of text that you kind of, I feel like the game it makes me think of, which is weird, is Monster Hunter, where it's trying to overteach me with menus and with pop-up dialogue things, where your instinct is to be like, I'll just figure it out later, and then you're like, wait, how do I do stuff? Because you don't want to have to read a 5 text box thing. But it's not too bad, to be honest. Like, and if that's my biggest criticism, like,
yeah, I think that's like my biggest criticism of most JRPGs. I just assume there's going to be 5 to 10 hours of tutorials, which I'm like kind of annoyed by, but like I think by this point I've gotten really used to it. And coming hot off of Star Ocean Second Story R, which was having tutorials and like pop-up text screens like 10 hours into the game, I was like, yeah, this is just how these games are now, I guess. You know what I mean? So it just doesn't really like bother me that much. You know what I mean? Like, some people, it really gets them like angry.
While we're already talking about it, because this is, I think, a third or whatever, shout out to Cool Uncle Vince. He kind of has been outlining some criticisms of the game on our Discord, and this was one of them. And in particular, that these sort of things happen early on with, like, you then have to move a little bit and then another one happens. And I think that feels frustrating, but I also think that's intentional. And I think there's a game design that if you throw too much at people without some interactivity, it's even worse. And I know that sometimes when we're in that mode, we think we would prefer it to all be one big cutscene. But if it was, I think people would tune out even more.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, but that's some counterpoints there to that argument. That also, I think this game is trying to teach kids a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like, and like, so some stuff feels a little overwrought and repetitive, and it's kind of like, do I really need, you just told me this and now you're having a pop-up explaining it again? But I think that's to really make sure younger players get some of this stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I keep reminding myself of that, of like, this is a game for children. Like, you know? And I'm like, dude, also, I will, quote unquote, suffer through this if it means that some 10-year-old playing a Mario and Luigi game for the first time has a great experience. You know what I mean? Like, because at the end of the day, I'm like, this is the first of this franchise in like, new game in this franchise in like a decade or over a decade at this point. So it's like, yeah, dude, I'll deal with a lot of bullshit. I don't care. I'm just happy that we're even here right now. Like, this wasn't supposed to exist, and it does. Like, I don't know. So it's like, whenever people are like really overly critical, I'm like, hey man, like, it's made for younger players that might not have even heard of this series before.
Jumping all over the place, but I just thought of something else that is a very minor complaint I have about this game that is like almost the opposite of that. And that's that when the game does have some cutscenes and some stuff, it's kind of fast. Like, I feel like the speed of the animations and stuff, like when I don't know, like for example, when you fire it off in the cannon to an island, it's kind of like boom, boom, boom. And I'm a little bit like, whoa. And have y'all experienced that, or is that just me? Like, do you feel that way? No?
I don't.
Okay.
No, personally, but I do feel like it is like my main criticism of the game so far is it is just a lot of dialogue, but I'm like, yo, teach kids to read. Let's go. No, because I mean, like for me personally, like growing up, like playing video games taught me to read so well. And like, shout out to my mom. She's like, I don't care how you read. I just want you to read. Like whether it's books, comics, video games, I don't care. Like as long as you're reading large amounts of text, do it. So I think that's kind of cool. Personally, I'm like, I can get why people don't really like that, but also like, dude, that's RPGs, dude. Yeah. Like it's text. It's a lot of text. It's just, so whenever she saw me playing like these long, like these RPGs with a lot of text, she's like, cool. Like, yeah, great. You're not playing Mortal Kombat and just like ripping someone's spine out. You're like reading a lot while you're doing it. That's cool. So I don't know, man. Personally, I am a little like, okay, let's keep going. But I mean, I just played through fucking Paper Mario Thousand Year Door, probably, man, I hate to say it, like probably the best Mario RPG of all time. I don't hate to say it, but it's like, I'm such a Mario and Luigi stan. It feels weird saying that, but it is so good, but it's a lot of text, dude. Like, and we don't see these reviews on IGN complaining about the text in the Mario Thousand Year Door game, like, so I'm kind of just trying to take everything with a grain of salt.
Totally. We've been jumping around. Maybe we can focus on just some aspects of the gameplay. So this is a turn-based RPG. You do control primarily Mario. Is that different? It feels a little bit more Mario focused.
Yes. So in the other one, like you had to control both brothers. Like, so if you're like jumping up a platform, you'd have to jump one, then jump the other. And then there's like quality of life updates for some of the newer ones or like the remakes where one button would jump both of them at the same time. This one, you're controlling Mario and Luigi just kind of follows, which I'm like, that's a good compromise because you just let the AI take over and do it. And like, that's kind of nice. So far, if you get too far separated, it does make y'all kind of come back together. That is a little bit
not in a way I like. Yeah,
I agree. But I just have to be very cognizant of keeping Luigi next to me. But it's like a trade-off because in the old ones, you could get him stuck below you and then you have to do everything over.
Yeah, I think it's better, but there have been times where I've like tasked Luigi with something and then been like, oh, there's a question block right over here. I'm going to go hit it. And so I walk over there and Luigi's like, Luigi, and forces you to go back. And you're like, wait, I just want to hit that question block. It's like 2 more inches over there. Or the one time where I got really ahead of Luigi, climbing up a big platforming thing. And then it's like, Luigi, and it just pulled me off the whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck you, Luigi. Like, that was a lot. It wasn't that big of a deal, but it's like, I just spent 30 seconds climbing that thing. Catch up, dude. Like,
Now you know how everyone in the Mario universe feels about Luigi, apparently. So it's a very accurate representation.
That said, that like you control Mario, Luigi's kind of the star of the game, though.
Yes.
Right? Like, even though you task him with doing stuff a lot and he has Luigi logic and I don't know what it is, but it's like he almost feels more important, right? I don't know.
I'd say so. I'm here for the Luigi revisionism as the true hero of the Mario franchise. I don't want to get too far into Luigi. I guess we can talk about Luigi logic. Is just like there are some times where he like has an idea and then he can do things, but I like it too as a way like you can task him to do something while you're doing something else, and you can't get too far from him, but it does like kind of double up the speed of certain like tasks, which I think is like pretty cool and like a really interesting way to do it for sure.
Yeah. So it is a turn-based game. if you've never played one of these, but there's also a lot of puzzle solving as you progress and some light platforming. I figure we can talk about the battle system since that's a big part of it sort of separately, but maybe we can talk about the puzzle solving and sort of light platforming. How are we feeling in exploration aspects of it, I guess? How are we feeling about all those?
The platforming is like pretty good to me. This is something that I saw like criticized. I haven't really personally had too many issues with it. It's like, and the light puzzle solving is about on par with what I remember from the other ones. Like there are very light platforming and puzzle solving in those. I would say I think it's better having played 3 Mario RPGs this year from different series. It's better than Super Mario RPG platforming, which I found just absolutely atrocious. Maybe not as good as Thousand Year Door platforming, because that one felt pretty fluid. But dude, honestly, like it's pretty cool. And the light puzzle solving is like find a couple things and do it in a very specific way to like get. There's like near the beginning of the game, actually, like something I really like is when you're carrying items, you can't jump. So what you have to do is pass it to Luigi, jump, get the thing past you, then Luigi will jump, and then do that back and forth. And that feels pretty cool. Like, I don't know, that like was really working for me because it goes in line with some of the platforming in the older ones where you have these like certain moves, which I haven't really quite unlocked yet. And like you do moves to get specific places or to get across specific obstacles. And that was just like a really cool way to like work together to do that and like do that back and forth. But yeah, so I mean that's been my favorite part so far. Is just like the little bit of like light puzzle solving or light platforming is it's working for me at this point.
I agree. I'm really enjoying it. I think that it seems like the game has sort of set a tone where I'm at of like it's probably going to mostly be like this, but I'm okay with that. And I think there's going to be a few more things because there is something called bro moves we haven't talked about, which is sort of tied into these puzzle solving and platforming aspects where they do stuff together and they dance or they get in a little dance position when you do the UFO one. I guess this is a slight spoiler but it's not too far into the game. They walk around in this dance position, and sometimes I'd like to just walk them around like that because it is cute because it looks like they're about to waltz or something. But I'm really enjoying the sort of like, oh, find this to unlock that gate to, and then pick up this thing and carry it through this specific gauntlet. And it's paced well so far for me.
Yeah, for sure. Can we talk about like the battles themselves?
Yeah,
now?
Let's talk about the battles.
So yeah, the Mario Luigi series is always like known for like this is why I'm so attracted to the series in the first place is like they're not just traditional RPG battles. It's like you have some sort of agency within the battle where you can dodge an attack or sometimes you can counter an attack, and like so you're not just sitting there waiting to be hit and then waiting for your turn to also hit. There's like a little bit of a back and forth play. And there's also like some, I don't like the best way I could describe it is like a quick time event or something, but it's like you have to hit a button at the certain point in the animation and then you do more or less or damage based on how well you do at that. And that just kind of like interactivity like is what really appeals to me about this series because I've played a lot of RPGs in my life. Some of them get really boring. And I feel like we've had a nice renaissance of JRPGs in the past like 5 to 10 years where like people are figuring out how to make those battle mechanics more interesting. They've been doing this for like a long time, for like 20 years, and it still feels good. Like this still feels like a good way to do battles in an RPG game for me.
I agree. And I think when you describe that, somebody who hasn't played a Mario and Luigi game but has played a Paper Mario game might be like, oh, I know what you're talking about. Mm-hmm. But it's next level. It's different, or maybe not next level, but like it's more complicated, but not really.
It's like one step beyond, but not 2 steps. You know what I mean? Like if you understood Paper Mario, you will understand this pretty intuitively.
Mm-hmm. But it is a little more involved and also a little more consistent. Like in Paper Mario, it might be like this time you're pressing X as fast as you can for this move, and this move you're doing that. This is a smaller range of things, but they're more frequent, I guess, is one way to describe it. And it feels good. And it's also nice that, like you said, almost any attack on you, you could dodge. So like, and it gets more, honestly, you could play this game a little more, like if you're wanting a bit more of a challenge, like I'm never going to heal, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or whatever, because I'm just going to try to dodge every attack. Or if you're not very good at the quick time events, you stock up on items and heal and stuff, you know? I don't know. There's a little bit of variety there, but I agree. I love this battle system, and the animations are great. There's some animations that really make me think of like, I'm completely blanking on the Mario soccer game Strikers. The Strikers like animations in this and stuff like that. It's just fun. Dodging and attacking and pushing the buttons.
Yeah, for sure. And like, dude, so while we're talking about the animations, maybe we just talk about like the graphics and like just like the style and everything in this game is out of this world, dude. Like the animations in the battle are like what I want out of a next level Mario and Luigi animation style, because I really liked where Alpha Dream had gotten towards the end of that cycle. It felt really good. Like the animations were really cool, but this is like so fluid. Like the animations they feel like stretchy. I don't know. Like it's like when they like kick their legs up, it's like you can see them stretch a little bit, and it's like you feel the fluidity in the animation, and it just feels really good to watch. And like that for me, I'm like, yeah, if I'm gonna be doing this like animation a while, like I want it to be good. And they're like hitting all the marks, dude. It just feels, I feel like it feels so good to play because the animation is so good. And just like the style of the world and like the idea that they're going with and how they kind of like represent that is pretty cool. It's like, yeah, like you were talking about earlier, like the characters being the outlets or whatever is really funny. I was playing this game earlier today, and Valerie's brother was over and he goes, "Oh, they look like outlets." And it's like, they are.
That character's name is Snoutlet.
Nailed it. Yeah. And then he saw Snoutlet and he was like, "Oh, Snout. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah." I was like, yeah, it's exactly. They're supposed to be like outlets and stuff.
Good job.
But just like the whole game being like about like connecting, and it's like using the imagery of an outlet to be the connection is like, it just works. I don't know. It just like is a really cool idea. And then the big thing about this game that I feel like is different is like just how you navigate the world itself. I don't know if you want to get too far into that, or did you have something to talk about like the animations and stuff like that?
No, I think that's great. I mean, I would just to piggyback on that. Yeah, I love the characters. I love the world. I think to explain it, there are these little outlet electric robot like characters, and this whole idea is this world has been fractured and we're bringing it back together through, connecting it right with these sort of electricity themes and jokes and vibes. And I'm enjoying all that too.
But then like also as we connect them and then they come back onto our Brothership, they also connect to other people that they didn't connect to earlier because they were separate.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Anyway, fucking light in these dark times, man. Literally and figuratively.
Yeah, and I think there's this gameplay loop, right? Of like, we're on this floating island ship, going out and finding all these disconnected things and reconnecting them. And then as you do that, then there's a lot of side quests, and they're also, like you said, kind of themed around people who got separated, and I'm enjoying doing the side quests, even though they're often very simple. But I like kind of that part of it. And again, my kid usually doesn't want to do those, but he's been agreeable about doing them in this game, which is, I don't know why. Maybe because of the way it fits. Like, I don't know. Like, it's been working, and I've been really enjoying all of that aspect of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. And so for the world exploration as well, it's like you're on this ship, and then there's currents, and then you sail to a certain current, and your ship is so big you can do things on the ship while you're sailing to a specific current. And then when you're in a current, you're in like a specific like loop, and then from that loop you can see other islands and go to them or whatever. But if you've already been to an island, you can basically fast travel through a warp pipe, which has a nice little animation when you go through a warp pipe where the screen
Yeah.
condenses to like just like the
Like
size
a
of the warp pipe.
phone.
Yeah, it's like a phone. I was like, this is cool. And then you go down the warp pipe and then it comes up and it expands. I was like, I don't know. That's just like a really nice little touch I was not
Mhm.
expecting. But yeah, so I mean, that's kind of how you explore the world is you're sailing on your ship looking for islands to like go onto. Yeah, this is like one thing that was to me entirely unclear when I first watched the trailers. I'm like, is this gonna be like Wind Waker or is this gonna be, and it's kind of like somewhere in the middle where you're like not exactly controlling the ship on the open ocean, but you're controlling where it goes, if that makes any sense. It's kind of like the middle ground of like it honestly reminds me of the Wind Waker sequel that was on DS, where you draw your that on that one, like you would draw your route and then you would sail that route. This one is like you pick which current you want to go to and you sail that to that current. Um, but for me right now, it's really working. I'm, it's a little bit of best of both worlds.
The other thing I think we should talk about is music and sound effects. I really like the music in this game. It's got a sort of, I don't know if it's accordion or what it is that's making that sort of sea chanty kind of vibe to all the tracks. I'm enjoying the music, humming along. I don't know that it's like the best music ever, but it's definitely not bad, and I like it. But I do want to talk about the sound effects more, maybe. If you want to jump on the music, that's great. But like the vocalizations in this game of the characters talking is kind of hilarious. It's very
Yes.
Animal Crossing-esque. And I think it's
Yes.
another one of those things that strikes me as fast. Like why I was talking about things feeling a little sped up at times. They're so fast. It's really fast Animal Crossing like talk. And then also Mario and Luigi have a little bit of just like fake Italian patter that they do a lot.
Yeah,
that
a
I
lot.
think is hilarious, and it happens a lot.
Yes.
And I don't know that Mario's ever been this vocal. Like he's got a lot to say in this game, it feels like. But it's all like
Yeah. I feel like that's like the natural extension because like they are a little bit more talkative in these games, I remember, because it's like they're literally the main characters or whatever. But this, like, they gave it an actual sound, which is just hilarious. I do want to counter in like the top right that just says like how many times Luigi says Mario, how many times Mario says Luigi. And I just wanted to like keep a running tally for the entire game because I started counting and I was like, this is too much. Like,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. And especially if you get separated, then it's even more.
Yeah.
But yeah, just in the like actual dialogue of the game is hilarious. You're constantly saying each other's names.
Yeah. But I think the game, like, I don't know, maybe we can just head towards closing out of just this game has a lot of charm.
Yeah.
And that's maybe to put succinctly a lot of what we've talked about. And then I think it really shines in the battles. I think I am excited to continue. Like I don't know how long it is exactly. I think some of these reviews said in the 30 something hour range, right? And that sounds about right. Like I don't know how far into it I am. I'm at least a few hours in. Like I don't know if I don't think this is spoilery, but you're unlocking islands. I think I've done about 5, I want to say. And then there seems to be big events as well, right? Like that happen. I enjoyed the boss fights I've had a lot too.
Yeah.
I think there's some interesting mechanics in them, and they also just feel a little more challenging and like a nice meatier battle. But there hasn't been tons of them, so that's been like a good balance. I don't know. Anything else anybody wants to make sure we include, or anything we missed?
I mean, this is about what I was expecting. I don't know. I also, I didn't really know what to expect. I just hoped it would be true to the spirit. And I feel like this does feel true to the spirit of the other Mario and Luigi games. And I feel like there's like one other small change I wanted to mention. The last small change I wanted to mention is for leveling up.
Oh yeah.
In this one, it's like a set level up. Like when you level certain things. The one change that I do wish they had kind of included in this one is on the other ones, like you would level up, you'd get your set stat upgrades. which is more complicated than Paper Mario, which you only have a couple different stats. This one has like maybe like 8 to 10. I can't remember exactly, but at the end of that, whenever you would level up, you would get to select one stat, and then it would roll like a 1 to 3, and you would get extra stats for that one stat you picked. But you couldn't pick the same one over and over again. Otherwise, you would only get ones in your roulette wheel. So it like kind of encouraged you to spread out your bonus stats. But just like that was like nice to have in the older Mario and Luigi games. It kind of like gave you a little bit of agency as far as like what type of character builds you wanted to do. But I don't think it's really missing too much, to be honest. Like, yeah,
we didn't talk about it, but yeah, this one it's a sort of similar vein. It has a thing where every 8-ish levels you get to pick from a selection of possible upgrades, right?
Okay, yeah.
And that is sort of like that, but is different, right?
Yeah.
And they are like non-refundable, like you know, in some games where you can kind of trade back and do a rebuild. These are like locked in choices, which makes me agonize over them a little bit more.
Definitely.
But also, like, I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah,
you know, it's not a hard game.
It's not
or
a hard
anything,
game.
So
yeah,
but it's still fun to agonize over them. Like,
yeah, I just think big picture, I'm like just happy to see a new game in this series, and it's not awful. You know, like maybe my expectations in this world in general are pretty rock bottom right now. Like as long as it's not awful, I'm good. But I'm actively enjoying it, and it brings a smile to my face to play it, and I'm like, okay, then I know I'm having a good time.
well, all right then. If there's nothing else, that's gonna do it for our discussion of Mario and Luigi Brothership. We are going to take another short break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the other games we've been playing recently. All right, well, I've been playing mostly Brothership and haven't spent a lot of time playing other video games. I did play like a little bit of Mario Kart, and I've played, I don't know, some other random things that I can't even think of right now, but primarily the thing I wanted to talk about is that I did beat Emio the Smiling Man, Famicom Detective Club. So I think the last time we did a like full episode, I said I was close, and I was, and I think like the next day or two I beat it. I rolled credits, and I really enjoyed this game a lot. Something that I was not aware of, and I'm gonna share this now, is that there is post game stuff in this, which sounds wild, and it is a little weird. And it's weird for a couple of reasons. One of which is that it's, you know, not what you would expect. Two is that it is almost like watching an anime. So like the game ended and I really liked it, though I had some like questions and some doubts and some like, but how does that really yada yada? And like I watched all the credits, and then it's like, you've unlocked blank. I'm not going to say what it is because it's tied into the story. And I was like, that seems like that might answer some of these questions and doubts and things I wanted to understand better. And it has somewhat. I haven't completed it. It's weird because it was very light on gameplay, and there was gameplay at the beginning similar to the game, but it was very light. And then it just kind of started playing like a movie, which is also weird because there are times where I'm like, why wasn't there more of this in the regular game? This feels like I am literally just watching an anime. I haven't finished it, which is like strange because I wasn't actually planning on playing it. It's like I beat the game, I watched the credits, and then I was like, well, I have to start this now. And it's like 11 p.m. and I'm like halfway through this thing, and I'm like, I have to stop. And I haven't gotten back to it yet. But like, what a wild, unexpected little journey that was to have some post-game content for this game.
A visual novel is not typically the game that has like a ton of post game content. Maybe I haven't played enough visual novels, but
yeah,
seems a bit odd. Usually a visual novel is like, oh, you can go back and like see the different pathways that you didn't take.
Right.
Not like, oh, hey, by the way, here's like a whole thing you can watch.
I'm trying to like think of the best way to explain it without spoilers. I think it's what I already said, which is that like I finished the game, I was satisfied, but I definitely had some lingering questions and thoughts and wondering about this world and some of these characters. And then this was like, you can do this, which was very clearly related to that, you know, in its title. And so I was like, I think it's for people who wanted to, like me, like be like, but wait,
It's
like,
the the death of Evangelion to the Neon Evangelion Genesis, whatever regular anime series. Then you watch the movie and you're like, oh,
yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's most what I want to talk about.
Yeah, I'll go next because I really haven't been playing much different. So like I was like trying to power through Star Ocean, the second story R, before Mario and Luigi came out because I'm like I probably won't go back. And I would say I probably won't go back, but then the game like 30 hours in takes like a really interesting turn in the story that I'm like, okay, I've been waiting for this for 30 hours. And I'm like, this is why I get annoyed with JRPGs sometimes, where you're like, oh, hey, yeah, by the way, now I'm going to turn everything you thought you knew about this entire world on its head. But then I'm like, but damn it, am I in? I'm so curious. Like, I got to know. So I probably will go back to this after I'm finished with Brothership. Definitely too into the Brothership to stop now. Star Ocean, I have taken starts and stops on, so I feel like at a pretty good point where I can take a break. And then the only other game I've really been playing is the Pokemon trading card game, Pocket, whatever the fuck it's called. And I want to like, you know, official apology. I don't know, because I remember I was talking mad trash on this game whenever it got announced. And I get it. Like, it is different. It's like the Marvel snapification of Pokemon TCG. And I will say that Pokemon TCG is still not my favorite like style of trading card game. I do prefer like a Magic the Gathering style game, which is why I played Hearthstone for like a long time, which I've talked about before. But this is a good game. Like, they did a really good job simplifying the battles to be like a few minutes long. So to be more specific, I have been playing online. My main complaint about this game is I haven't gotten enough cards to make viable decks, but I do have one really good viable deck. It's a Executor EX card deck with a Venusaur EX card deck, and if I can get like, some of those combos going with like dude, I don't even know the name of the Pokemon, but the second stage evolution is a move where it's a 2-leaf one. You do 50 damage, but then you also get to put a leaf on someone, a Pokemon on your bench for free, like a free energy onto your Pokemon on your bench. So then I can like, if I can get that Pokemon out first, deal 50 damage to whoever I'm like fighting, but then also get free energy and get ahead of the mana curve.
Yeah.
Like, that actually works really well for me. I've been fighting a lot of Mewtwo decks, which I don't have the cards to build one yet.
But the grass deck does seem to be the most viable counter to those Mewtwo Gardevoir decks, is what I'm starting to understand.
It works really well because a lot of those cards also like build your mana curve up so you can kind of keep up with them, but then also like there's healing built into it too. Like the Venusaur has as 100 damage, but it heals 30 to you. Like, that is a super hard card to beat. And so if I can get that Venusaur out there, building the mana onto it, and I can get it out early, it's kind of like I get conceded to a lot as soon as I get the Venusaur out. Like, so that being said, this is how much I'm talking about it. I guess I like it. But yeah, that's it. Yeah. Summer, what have you been playing?
Yeah, I'll just like roll with that because I've also been playing Pokemon TCG a lot, and just like want to briefly mention that the 2 decks that I am mostly running right now are an electric deck because I do have a Zapdos EX and 2 Pikachu EX. Right, so and I was able to get the Lieutenant Surge cards right away. I've always just been a fan of electric type Pokemon, which is part of why I'm like, that's my affinity. I would rather run, like play what you like. But I'm also running I was able to score those Lapras EX cards right away from that solo battle event.
Nice.
So I have a deck that I literally called the deck Annoying, because in addition to those Lapras EX cards, I'm running, it's not a pure water deck. I thought it would be fun. I also got a Wigglytuff EX that I'm running in there. There's like a lot of status effect cards. I'm also running that Aerodactyl that if you flip a coin and its heads, it just shuffles the active Pokemon opposing into their deck. And if you can manage to do that like a couple of times, then you've won the game. It's hilarious. I've managed to do that. So just stuff like that. I love being annoying. I'd rather just be like clever and annoying. And just trying to think of ways to do that besides Mewtwo and Gardevoir, right? Because at this point, like, you just expect it. It's like whatever. Patrick, I know you're playing it a little bit. I want to. What kind of deck are you running?
Oh, I don't know. Like I'm not this thoughtful about it. I'm just been playing battles against the computer with my kid.
Okay.
And he's the one that has built all the decks.
Oh, okay.
So they're
what kind of
just
decks are he running?
whims,
Oh.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we're battling the easy computer. Like, so y'all are talking about high level stuff that's maybe not that high level, but you know, for like, basically he's running the show and I am going alongside
A
it.
week from now, you'll be able to tell us. I think
I'll try to now that we've had this conversation.
A week from now, you'll be
heard
like, yeah, these are the cards and this is kind of what I'm doing. Because as far as like when you talk about like high level stuff, like as far as like all of the card games that are out there, Pokemon's not it.
Oh yeah, I said that and I realized instantly that's maybe the wrong term, but like we're talking very novice approach over here.
Okay, and that's fair because I think you can still get away with that though in this too, and that's what's nice about it is I'm still.
Part of the fun's just opening the packs, y'all.
Yeah. I love putting binders together and display cases. Like that's actually really nice. Like I wasn't like impressed with it at first until I got the display case that's like the vanity. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's the one for me. And I can put my Wigglytuff EX card in there. And it's just fun. Other than that, not a lot of new things too. Like I said, been trucking along with Yakuza Like a Dragon. Got to a specific point in the game where it was just extremely topical, and I was like, I'm just gonna do nothing but I was like, I'm not ready for the game to end. I'm gonna do all of these side quests and the mini games, and the mini games alone, I cannot believe how developed they all are. And some of these video games are just like other games that and it still does them well. I can't believe it. I didn't realize that there was like this hidden card parlor where you can play blackjack and poker, and like there isn't really music in there. So I'm playing on Xbox, so I just go and open up Spotify and put on the State of Jazz playlist and then go back into the parlor and like just hearing them talk. And I'm like, God, I just need like a cigarette and I'm ready to go. Like this is like, and I'm there. And then I played Among Us for the first time since 2020 with some friends because it's what they wanted to do for like a birthday celebration. And I can't believe how many more maps. I realized how vanilla my Among Us experience had been, and how many more maps and activities within Among Us, and how much more that impacted the way that we were playing. And it was also it just added a whole other layer of knowing when people were lying about what they were doing, which is great. That's like the point. So that was fun. I guess I'll play Among Us. And I'm calling this new experience that I'm doing with some friends Wingate, where we play Wingspan, but then I also play Baldur's Gate and I stream it into Discord. So like while I'm waiting for my Wingspan turn, I'm also playing Baldur's Gate, and that's a pro gamer move if you ask me, because I've got them up on both. I think I've said this before on the podcast. I've got them open on both windows and both monitors, and I'm still running Discord, and I'm still being a shitlord with the soundboard in Discord. So that's been fun for me.
Real briefly, just tonight we were at the coffee shop, and they have a bunch of board games, and they had Wingspan, and I pulled it off the shelf just because of you. Summer, and I showed it to my wife. I was like, I keep hearing about this thing from Summer, and it's about birds, and you love birds. My wife loves birds. So like we looked at it and it felt a little overwhelming.
It is
holy
big.
cow, there's a lot of
Mhm.
stuff in that box. But
There is. But if your wife likes birds, every card has a bird fact about that bird on it. And once you get over that initial hump of learning it, like anything, right? But this one more so than others, I feel like everybody in my life is playing Wingspan now. So that means you're gonna have to also,
all
right? If you
We'll
want to stay
figure
in
it
my
out.
life, Patrick, you're gonna have to learn to play Wingspan.
All right, fine. All right, well, friends, I think that is going to do it for this episode of Super Switch Headz on Mario and Luigi Brothership. Thanks to MilkyWay.ceo, who does our website. Thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. Thanks to all of our patrons on Patreon. If you're looking for me, Patrick, online, you can find me as PDYX.
You can find me at Weebwitched.
You can find me at Bordan.
And then if you're looking for our show on social media, you can find us as Switch Headz on Twitter and Super Switch Headz on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. And that's going to do it. Thank you all for listening. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to one another. We're going to need a lot of kindness. We're going to need a lot of love and hope. And we're going to need a lot of each other and community. And we're going to need a lot of resistance. And we're going to need a lot of all these things. Take rests when you need them. Grieve if you need to. Move forward when you're ready. And we're going to be back with another episode next week. So until then, stay safe and bye-bye.